Hello, and welcome to the next AMA. I might do one of these every week or so, but we'll see. There are a lot of repeat questions. I hope I didn't catch too many on this one. Danka then asks, how has getting your friends involved with your channel affected it? Do you bounce ideas off of each other? Has your dynamic changed? Have you all grown closer? It's a blast just watching you high roll and seeing your friends' reactions, including Mario, which makes him disappear. um, it is. I'm just gonna start with something first before I answer the questions. Oftentimes, when I look to think about something, it is not. I'm not going to be looking at different ways of answering it to be unique or special or like a hipster. It is simply my, I guess, trained or learned behavior to try to draw out as much as possible from these sorts of things, especially because it can be a more interesting or nuanced topic. So, for example, if someone asks like, "What's your favorite color?" I could just say blue, right? But I could also just, maybe go deeper. It's like, well, it might depend on whatever I'm using it for. So, how has getting my friends involved with my channel affected it? It's extremely positively. Now, the biggest advantage I have ever, outside of like personal skills, is the fact that I have a team full of people who are very dedicated, very loyal to our product, and maybe even to me. And, I don't need any of you guys to believe any of what I'm about to say, but I know it to be true, and it is borne out in not only just theory, but reality. Theory, as in, communal and tribal vibes do exist, and in reality, as in, like, I observe it. I would do a lot of things for my people, a lot of things. Okay, if they need me, I'm there. Now, they don't always call upon me, but in the times that they have, I'm there. And similarly, I like to think that I make it very fruitful for them as well. And as such, I've inspired a good amount of loyalty, and grace with these people that they might give me, even in times where I'm impatient and maybe even aggressive towards them, right? Even yesterday, I yelled at Mario. I was just like, I got really tired of his what. Like, just stop saying what to me. Like, just like fucking, just listen, right? Like, because he has a tendency of just going what, in a way that kind of like gaslights you into thinking that what you just said was ridiculous, and it's like it like boiled me over. Okay, it was crazy. But even then, we're friends for years, years and years. They could do that to me. Maybe they might be afraid to do so, sure. But like at the end of the day, I'll always be understanding. Sometimes some of them are a little bit more frustrated and angry, and I try not to poke the bear. Um, so yeah, like there's that sort of dynamic of being friends, but then also being business partners too, right? It's largely a net positive, like unbelievably so. So, for example, Brian understands the channel really, really well. He's not only someone who has grown up on my content, he went through high school and even university going through my content or being part of the team by then. He's also someone I like to think is ridiculously intelligent, disconnected from the other part. Okay, I'm not saying he's intelligent because he watches me, but maybe, who knows? But he's highly technically skilled in his field, right? And he's also someone who's very curious, very inquisitive about the world, and bringing those sorts of talents to the channel has been nothing but a boon compared to other channels that might have editors who don't care, that might not be as attached to the success of the content or maybe even the quality of the content. Similarly related, you know having someone who knows me, knows what I want to do, and has been mentored by me and is already intelligent, equipped with those stats, it's a huge advantage. Like, people would kill to have someone like Brian on their team. That's the reality of it. And having it homegrown, and having someone like Mario, who's just always going to make himself available. He pushes it, he crunches. I know he's burnt out. Same with all of us, right? Like, we're all kind of wrecked. Someone who can work as hard as he might, even doing timestamps for shorts, for clips and whatnot, like just these little things, and knowing the content and being familiar with what we want to do, that's a huge boon. And I would argue that a large majority of that comes from them being my friends first and foremost, and then becoming part of the team. Do we bounce ideas off of each other? Yes, all the time. I get corrected, I get vetoed on a lot of things. They check my reasoning, and I provide that reasoning. And I'd like to think that I'm gonna toot my own horn here. I'd like to think that having direct access to me and asking questions and being able to, again, bounce ideas off of me is a really good way of learning how to think very quickly, insofar as I'm good at thinking or being able to, critically think. So, you know, that is to say, having access to anyone almost 24/7 is a good thing, because you get to very quickly get to their level of thinking, whatever that level might be. And I'm not saying I'm like a fucking genius. I'm just saying that I'm very knowledgeable on both my content, and I think generally speaking content, as well as arena, and as well as like game analysis. That's my job actually. So like literally. So you know, to be a little bit more humble about it, like they are correct quite often. They are correct. Like they'll say something and be like, "Oh, that's a good idea. I should have done that." They'll backseat me, and it's not really backseating when you're in the fucking game. If you're like in the comment section, I call it backseating. Yeah. Has your dynamic changed? In a way, being their boss, um, they kind of have to defer to me in a lot more cases. But again, I am humble enough to know when I'm wrong about certain things, and when I haven't communicated well enough. If I'm thinking ahead and I haven't communicated it, that's on me, and I take responsibility in plenty of cases. I'm like, nope, that's my bad, sorry, that kind of stuff, which people conveniently ignore. By the way, have y'all grown closer? I'd like to think so. I think, not to be unfair to my other friends, but like, Brian and Mario in particular, I can rely on them for a ton more. I'd like to think of them as very close friends. That's why they have admin privileges. That's why they will be the next King Nidhogg after I leave. Take my channel. It's fine. If I leave, let's say. It's a blast just watching you high roll and seeing your friends' reactions. Yeah, thank you. I know I took really long on this question. I promise I won't take long on every question. I just put it at the top because it was a good question. Although it was many questions. Are you willing to make another augment item tier list video? So, the short answer is no. The long answer is like yes, but with conditions. The last time I made an augment / item tier list video, I thought I did it in a proper way. I still do. As in, I led those discussions with a couple prefaces. One of them being an acknowledgement that tier lists, more like an injunction, an acknowledgement first, an acknowledgement that tier lists, generally speaking, lose their utility once you follow them blindly and don't understand the nuance, and an injunction to not do so. Now, what happened was a lot of people did not evaluate under the same, they didn't have the same heuristics, okay? As in, if I give you a graph comparing two dimensions, let's just say age and height, okay? And I gave it to 10 people, and they were the exact same graph. And let's say the trend was as you got older, you got taller, generally speaking. Those 10 people, I would wager, would probably have the same conclusions. And they would say something like, when you get older, you get taller. Now, if I ask them to continue that, I don't know, let's say the range is 1 to 18, but if I ask them, what would you expect to happen after 18? What would the graph look like? I would hope that all 10 of them would say, well, it might continue an upwards trend, but it might not be as ridiculous as 1 to 18. Now, what you have to understand is, prior to them actually getting that graph, they have certain heuristics that they adhere to when evaluating trends or the validity of graphs to begin with. And what I notice is, if you don't have them lined up, you have an additional problem where answers that deviate from the average have unknown origins, and therefore you need to solve those first before incorporating them into the mass, okay? As in, if you have 9 people agree on something, but one of them says, like, actually, height increases because when you get older, you start wearing clothes that extend your legs, some bullshit, okay? And then you have to go to that person and be like, where did that come from? Right? So let's apply that to the tier list thing. It's like, I realized very quickly that when trying to align people on how to think about tier lists and how to approach them, as in appreciate the nuance, people ignored that, and they didn't. which meant that I would have to go to them individually and be like, how did you arrive at this conclusion? Did you not adhere to the heuristics or the approach to evaluating these things that I had set out? Because even if you disagree with the approach, at the very least, we would be on the same page. And therefore, we can compare our thinking from there, right? As in, we need to agree that this thing in front of us exists first and foremost before we talk about its shape, its form, why it should exist, what it does for us. Okay? If we can't even agree that the door is a door and you think it's like a fucking orange and I think it's, I don't know, a door, we have to address that. Does that make sense? So I'm not willing to make an augment item tier list in the short term, but in general, I like the idea and I would be willing if we could sort for that problem. Now, as an additional, I guess, point of proof of why I shouldn't, it got posted to the League subreddit, the Arena subreddit, and God, dude, both of them, the augment and the tier list. I'm like, I had to ask the person that posted it to take them down because I'm like, you weren't necessarily doing anything wrong, but the opinions here are they were so charged. To begin with, they don't like me over there, right? So they're not going to appreciate any of the nuance. They're not going to listen to it properly with like good faith. Okay, and even what I'm saying here might be interpreted as bad faith, but no, it's an inference from repeated patterns. Okay, like I'm inferring that these people are just doing that because I can't rationalize why they would say such stupid shit to begin with, right? So I read through. I'm like, wow, you guys are not. You're not even worth the discussion. That's how I would take it. That might be the most arrogant or egotistical thing I'll say here, which is that these people are not worth even giving time, like explaining. So I just didn't. I'm like, I asked the author, like, can you just take this down? This is ridiculous. This is turning into a witch hunt against me and not actually addressing the points that I made. They're just talking shit. Okay, so yeah, that's my long answer. That's why that's my blue example, right? Like, well, what's your favorite color? I could just say blue, or I could just say what I just said. Um, I just wanted to ask about how your work-life balance has been, and has it affected your health in any significant manner? That is to say, thank you for all the hard work, but you've put in for the past couple years. I'm pretty sure I answered something like this before, but the answer is like I don't really have that good of a work-life balance. But thank you, and it has affected my health in a significant manner. But I'm trying to dial that back. I'm trying to work against it. Um, from Kaibi, thank you, Kelvin. And also thank you, Aaron Legoat earlier. I'm gonna stop calling out names. If I do for one, I have to do for all. Let's just go ahead with every single at here. I appreciate you guys to begin with. Thank you for asking meaningful questions. But it'll save more time in the long run. To not say your names. I always wanted to know what kinds of music you enjoy, aside from the songs you use in videos. Like, do you listen to indie, alt rock, shoegaze? I don't even know what that is. Like shoegaze, or other genres? And what is your favorite band to listen to? And thank you for the daily content and all the effort you and your team put into your videos. um I listen to house music, club music, beats. Now, the thing about music is I don't know the first thing about music, but I know what sounds good to me, and I know what beats are. As in like I used to beatbox, right? So I know like the drums, like the boom, boom, boom. And I know like generally speaking, like I can keep on tempo. Okay. Am I rushing or dragging, right? That kind of thing. And the reason why it's really impactful in my life is because I do video editing and I really like matching beats to impact frames. That's why League of Legends is a little bit unfortunate for me because there aren't that many impact frames. Probably for a good reason, right? If everyone was hitting each other with visually impactful, stunning, like, effects and whatnot all the time, such that I could make cool montages, time things on the beat, it would probably be a worse game because it would just be like all explosions all the time. But um, the way this relates to your question is I like any songs that have a clear way to line up to gameplay moments, whether it's League of Legends or otherwise. And typically, those genres will be things like club music or house music with a continuous like boom, right, that kind of thing, instead of like lyrics, right? Like because lyrics can kind of get it, like they work with the beats or the rhythm or whatever the fuck the melody, all these names. Don't educate me on that, please, or do whatever. Oh god, there's so many backseats, right? Um, but the lyrics could kind of like soften the blow of those drums, right? Um, especially snares, right? Like this is what I noticed, but I don't know anything about music. It's just I just use that as a tool. So I don't actually like listen to music outside of I I sound like a crazy person, but I'll listen to a song over and over, and I'll envision what I want to put on the on like the video editor and like produce as a result. Um, so I'll be like, okay, here I'll put this clip here, and then I'll match it up to the or like the right, that sort of thing, and then I just do that over and over and over again. I listen to the song, maybe in bed. I'm like chilling. I'm like, oh yeah, let me hear that again. My recent one is "Butterfly Effect" by the My Hero Academia song "Butterfly Effect." It sounds like it'll be a beautiful piece. It's not about butterflies. It's like the most aggressive, awesome fucking soundtrack you'll ever hear. Okay, you should search that up. Butterfly Effect, My Hero Academia, or just MHA. Um, there's a section at like 116 with a sort of sound, and it like I'm like, oh, that's like two windups, three windups, and then with the drums, and like you could do like you can like cut forward really quickly, or you can have like slashes through the screen. I counted like 8 or 9 beats or something. It's like 8 or 9 frames of something, and then shatter, and then boom, and you can go. You got to go listen to the song. You had to be there. Okay. Um. So yeah, that's how I answer that. I guess. I should maybe do some behind the scenes of editing when I go to edit my montages or whatnot. But I don't have time to edit a montage. That shit takes like 12 hours if I really want to be perfect about it. Okay, anyways. But how long does it take to get a God Roll Anvil video up and running? I've tried to get good Anvil runs even with friends going on, and sometimes feels impossible to win. A really long time. Really long. The good thing about Anvil runs is you can do it in normal lobbies and not always custom lobbies, and you can just generally get a run. Anvil runs are really, really good for videos because you get tons of runtime, all the in between, all the extra visuals, and people kind of chase. There's like a very obvious thing that we're chasing, while augment combinations might be a little bit more fleeting. So, they're pretty good. So even though it takes a long time to get a God roll, they're my favorite to search for. But we put them on cooldown. What is a country you'd like to visit someday? Japan. I'd like to go back to Japan. I don't really get a good taste of it. I honestly think that anyone traveling before the age of like 16 probably can't enjoy a country fully, Like you don't have the autonomy to like go out and do things, and you're probably doing it at the behest of your parents or whatnot. Solo trips prior to like conscious life, they don't really exist, right? Like you'd have to be very privileged. I did one solo trip when I was 16, my first solo trip ever to my very first girlfriend ever. I flew from Toronto to like Vancouver, and it was like daunting. And I didn't really appreciate the area. I just went to see her. Yay. Let's see. Is your channel growing? What do you think about your prospects as the arena content creator, and how long are you planning on doing this? So, I'll answer this first. Um, yes, generally, yes, my channel is growing. My channels are growing. My TikTok, my Instagram, even my Facebook that I started up, and my Twitter, very slowly. Not to the degree that I'd like, but that's because I'm greedy. And I think the prospects of being an arena content creator last as long or go as far as arena survives. So, last year they announced an arena would be here for 12 months, and we're almost nearing that time of 12 months. And the moment it goes away, I'll have like a bit of a backlog, but I would honestly like to just go away. I plan to do it as long as I can because it is fruitful, but I don't wish to continue any further. Not really. I am greedy though. So, if you could switch to a different game but keep the same views, would you? Yes. Yes. I'm greedy. Remember, I would. I would maybe swap back to solo queue just because I'm good at it. But I would want to play any variety. If you're giving me this premise of like keeping the same views, yeah, I'd do anything. I'd film myself out, out in the wild. I would go do Riftbound. I like Riftbound. I would film it and I would bring my editing skills to Riftbound. As in, anytime anyone does any action, there's a card on the screen that represents it. Because one of the things that Riftbound lacks is a very clear viewing experience. You can have elements on the screen, but dynamic, live, like dubbing over or explanations, that doesn't happen. I tried to search some Riftbound content. No one does that. Like no one has. I'm giving away the sauce here, but like I would destroy any fucking niche like that if it requires any sort of effort. I would have like daily games. Like here's a set of 3 where I was able to play this deck, and then I sideboarded, and I beat him on 2, and the third was a toss-up. And the whole way through the entire situation, this whole set is like visuals explaining here's why this card was impactful. We could even do the My Hero Academia song when it's like, boom, here comes the card, arise, boom, all my sand soldiers and I conquered. We could do that. Like we could even intentionally fake the shuffle and set up the deck in a way where we draw like a very very compelling narrative, as in like I got a crazy turn one and he had a perfect response, and then it was kind of like more believable in 3 and 4 and 5, and then near the end game we get like this insane like we're 7-7, whoever holds this wins, and it's like boom, I put down like 20 damage worth and they have to come in with 21 or more, and they play everything, and then turns out there's like this one rule and it teaches the audience and it's exciting. There's so many ways to do content on Riftbound that I would be excited to do, that I could do. I literally I went to my first, I learned Riftbound like 2 weeks ago. I went to the regional in Vancouver and I learned the game there. And literally the moment I learned this game and I watched on like the stage as they played like the pro games, I'm like, holy fuck, I can do this so easily. I was chatting with one of the rioters because I went to LA the next week, right? And I played a local. I went 2-1, let's go. Because I borrowed his deck. I even beat him with it. And I'm like, yo, the owner of this deck is really good. I was just joking. Shout out Derek. I won't say his last name, but thank you, Derek. You're really cool. And I was talking to him and he asked me, like, yo, do you feel like, do you have that content brain for it? And initially I told him, like, I try to turn it off because I want to enjoy Round as a hobby. But I'm like, but I could do it so well and way better than these creators. These creators just look at the camera and kind of talk, right? Which is kind of what I'm doing right now. And there's nothing necessarily wrong about them as people, but as content creators, if you want to do it well, edit. Learn to edit. Make your visuals, dude. Like I could maybe run like a test of that. Oh, as I'm talking, dude, thank you so much for this question. You are letting the creative juices flow, dude. Yo, thank you so much. I know I said I wouldn't call out names, but thank you, Hello Kitty Girl, for this. Holy fuck, I have a lot to think about. We'll see when Arena goes away, right? If it goes away, hopefully it doesn't, because I'm greedy. Uh, Lastly, what gave you the idea for a Q&A or even a second one? I'm bored. I'm bored, and I think that I have a lot of people like you, funnily enough, that ask insightful questions. And like I said, when people ask me what color I like, I oftentimes take that question way further out. And honestly, that's how I discover things. That's why I think I'm so successful, or one of the reasons why, other than Brian and Mario, is because I think. So sorry for yelling. Next question. If you could pick, what champions would you want to star in another arcane type show to boost their popularity? Does views on your video factor in there? I have no care for like Zon and Piltover, these ugly ass characters. Like, sorry, that's so rude. Ugly ass as in, like, to me, I don't like steampunk's like okay. I don't really like those back alley, like bilge water sort of, like, I was gonna say medieval, kind of like older times. Like I like tech. I like Tron. You know, even Demacia is a little bit hidey tidy medieval sort of thing. I like Ionia, man. Like Ionia would be what's up. Even though they kind of fit some of the descriptions I just mentioned. Like I don't have like super tight categorizations. Okay, don't look to pick holes in my logic here. All right, this is just my preference. I look at like Ionia because I feel they feel a little bit more Asian inspired, like a little bit more connection there. Like I want to watch like Yone and Yasuo in the spirit world or something. Um, or like even dude, I'm such a romance guy. Like who's like maybe Akali and Shen. Like what if Shen took off the helmet and he's like the most handsome motherfucker ever, and like Akali's kind of a hard ass, and like over time she softens up and like they make out and shit. Like yeah, dude. Like I take that. I think they're really pretty characters. Or Ari, dude. Oh, she's so sexy. Right? Like hell yeah, dude. I take that. So whatever. Haha, Goonhog. Haha, you guys are not original. Shut up. How has being burnt out of arena affected you? How have you built the mental fortitude to combat the feeling of being burnt out? Oh yeah, I select. Thank you for the love the content comment. Thank you. I appreciate that. Glad you love it. I selected this one because of the second part. The built the mental fortitude to combat the feeling of being burnt out. It's really just I don't want to be I don't want to be like the average person stuck without a job, without any sort of means. I made my way for the most part, as much as I'm allowed to. I don't think anyone is really self-made. You're always a product of the environment. which to some people might sound trite, but there's a point here, as in you should be humble. And leading into that, I think I've been in the situation where I've had things done for me, and I've also been in the situation where I've done things for myself, like this, like building. And there's a blend of both. And because I appreciate all the ones before me that have helped, including you guys, actually, right? You know, it has contributed to me having more mental fortitude against things like burnout, um, because it feels like I'm carrying the weight of all of those graces, all of those actions. It's like, and if I don't pay them off, if I don't, I'll put it very simply. Someone gives you $10. If you don't spend those $10, it's almost like you're wasting that. Now, that's a shitty example because money oftentimes has different meaning. But like, let's say like someone gives you 10 favors, okay, something a little bit more ethereal, you know, and they almost tell you like, yo, use these favors to your advantage. If I don't use all 10 of them at some point, I don't have to do it right away, but like over time, like I'll use one favor a month, right? I feel like I'm wasting it. So it's kind of like that. That's how I'll answer. Given the opportunity to go back in time, do you think you would choose content creation every time? It depends on if I know what happens. If I know what happens, yes, and I will do it better. If I don't know what happens, I probably would still say yes, because 16-year-old me did not want to work a normal job. I knew right away I was not fit for that shit. I needed to do something in gaming. I was just way better at gaming. And funnily enough, creation. Is there any chance you'll ever do any content with a writer that works on Arena? It would be really cool to ask some questions, keep the good content. Short answer, no. Long answer, no. And why? I work contract at Riot, which means that anything and everything could be interpreted as favoritism. I will never willingly walk myself into legal trouble. I will only do things as long as they're cleared. As in, I'll ask Rogue Fool, Mike, or anyone working on the modes, like, hey, do you think you'd be able to do like a video with me? Let's go clear it with legal first. And if they say no, I'm not doing that. I haven't even like began that process. I just went with no, I shouldn't, because it'll look bad, even if it provides value to the audience. Because it would look like I'm presenting myself as a rioter. I am not a rioter. Okay, so no favoritism there. I'm not running myself into trouble. These opinions are simply my own. Do you ever see Mario Brian in the real life? Were you guys happy keeping the friendship online? Yes, and I would not say I'm happy keeping the friendship online. It's more like it just has to be. Um, that's it. Like we don't have time to fly out to see each other. I paid for a couple TwitchCon trips in the past where like I flew them out, or rather I got their hotels and they would fly themselves out. They just they pay 500. Now at this point in time, I can fly out my whole friend group and not bat an eye, thankfully. And I would do that. But in the past, I used to ask them like, yeah, just front like half the bill or something, right? But yeah, subtle flex. But I'm just being honest with you guys. Like, I would do that. So I'm not exactly happy keeping the friendship online. It's just necessary. Do you enjoy Nintendo games, or is the Mario Kart music vibes just really good for the background music? A little bit of both. Brian really likes Mario Kart music. I love it, dude. I love Crown City. I like some of these other ones. They're amazing. How many people are in the team? It just seems like it's you, Mario, and Brian, but there are more people behind the scenes that we don't see. You would just have to like pay a little bit more attention to it. I don't exactly make it too loud, but in the descriptions it'll say like who's edited what. So I wouldn't blame you if you haven't seen like the second channel and like read the description. It is me, Mario, Brian, Corin doing the thumbnails, Gabby and Chase running the second channel for the editing, and then Eclipse. Eclipse does our shorts. Yeah. From Tony here. Oops. I've enjoyed watching your videos a lot lately, and I can tell you put a lot of thought and importance into them being done well / optimally. There are times in your videos where, like you said, or where, like, say you get a buy round while stacking Gamma's Blade, resulting in the run being under what the theoretical cap was, smaller numbers than otherwise, basically. At those points, you seem pretty upset or disappointed for a moment, like the video will be worse off than it might have been otherwise. So I'm wondering what your thought process is in making the video the best it can be. To what extent are you thoughtful about constructing a narrative? Are there specific benchmarks you try to hit for every video? Are there certain things you look out for in a run that make it sufficient/insufficient for a main channel upload, etc.? TLDR, you seem to me somewhat perfectionist, interested in optimization. How does that affect your video making process? So the general thing that you're getting at here is where's the line? You're correct in your assessment that it is upsetting or disappointing for me to not be able to hit theoretical caps, but you'll notice in my gameplay, oftentimes I will sacrifice hitting theoretical caps. Okay, take it back for a second. You're gonna have to envision this. So if you have aphantasia, unlucky. There are minimum of two dimensions here that interplay, and they also conflict as a result. There is theoretical cap, let's just say as x-axis, and then there's a theoretical cap in the game, and then there is runtime/narrative maxing. Although they're separate, I'm going to put them together. As in, there are things that might play towards reaching the best possible cap, as in highest stats or otherwise, that would sacrifice runtime. So, very quick example, getting damage like Overlords or Riftmaker early, if I have like an insane amount of HP, could result in a lower cap. Or sorry, a lower runtime, because I kill them faster. Matching the tempo of the lobby will maximize in both domains. We get 5-10 seconds longer rounds, and we can slowly build towards this theoretical cap. It's just the order in which we build the items will be suboptimal, and that's like the compromise we have to make all the time. That might not answer all your questions perfectly, but that's one of those vibe checks that I have to, heads up calls, let's say, that I have to make all the time, where I have to evaluate, like, where am I relative to my opponents to make this a good video? And that'll be anything about the build, or maybe how I'm playing. I'll intentionally sack rounds, but I'll try to make it not so obvious. We cut out a lot of the parts where I say to Mario Brian, we need to lose this round, because I did the calculation. So for example, if you're at 65 HP, you can lose 30-30 and you'll be on 5. If it's about to turn to 35 damage, what we should do is, prior to that, we should lose on purpose twice to get to 5 HP to give another team 1 extra life, potentially making the video longer. Because if we lose 30 and we get to 35 HP and then it turns to 35 damage on round 12 or whatnot, we can only give 2. Similarly, if someone's at like 55 HP, we should beat them when it's like 20. So like round 8, round 9, it's like it'll only do like 20 damage. So they'll go down to 35, which means that they can lose 1 more, and then they can lose 1 more after that. So those are some of the like tiny details that allow us to hit benchmarks for runtime and cap. As in, like, 1 more round could result in more money to buy, an item, or like, hit a build, whatever, another prismatic, and also runtime. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question well enough, because you were just asking about like thought process. It's cool you're doing another one. I have some questions about YouTube's algorithm. Does liking the video in the end really make a difference? I'm gonna finally reveal this. Me asking people to like the video at the end does nothing for actually like affecting the like. The reason why I asked people to like the video in the end was because I took a gamble that if I made it a game for you to do so, hey, like it at the end of the video, don't like it now, you would obviously watch to the end of the video, which increases my runtime, and you would like. Now, there's a non-zero amount of people that might just forget after I ask them, but there's also a non-zero amount of people that might have, played along. It's kind of like if I ask my kid, if I have a kid, hey, you want to do the dishes, buddy? Versus I make it a game for him. Let's do the dishes together, and let's see who can do it faster if we split them up. Which one do you think is more likely as a human being? Like, you probably don't want to do the chore, even if it's just clicking like, you know what I mean? So I ran that experiment and I was correct. I was absolutely correct in my hypothesis that people would want to do it more. I'm giving it away now because I don't care. I don't fucking care. I looked at a marked increase in likes, like more than like 33%. Sorry, more than 50%. It would be like an average of like 2,600 likes. It went up to like 3K, 4K. Like, you guys are, I'm gonna say it. You guys are easy to game, just as I'm easy to game. Even if I know what's happening, I like it. It's like, okay, sure, I'll do that. Sure, I'll give you the like at the end. That's fun. and you give me the runtime. So does the hype feature help in any meaningful way? I would be hard. I would answer this with reasoning, logic. In what world would YouTube implement something that doesn't actually affect anything to begin with? Are they doing what I'm doing, where they just make you want to click something? Why would they do that? How would that benefit them? It must be the case that the hype feature actually does help in a meaningful way. Okay. You could argue that maybe it doesn't. Maybe it does affect things, but not in a meaningful way. I don't know. I don't have access to that. So let's go with it does. Let's see. How is your production pipeline? I'm a TV producer, and I just think your workflow when it comes to production is super interesting. We film, we mark down things, we send it to the editor. Brian has a crazy good production. He's probably a better video editor than I am. The difference between Brian and myself is that he's a very organized person. I'm an artist type. My timeline looks like shit. But the funny thing is the product comes out the same, even if you like leave things messy and stuff. But he's got a better production pipeline. You should ask him. What I will say is my advantage is creative vision. I like to think I see things in moments, in videos, in footage, whatever. And I can more readily give ideas on how to turn that into like good content. Yeah. But Brian's got plenty of good ideas, and he's even like the Nemesis thing and like cleaning up some of the visuals. But the raw skills, I have a lot of the raw skills. It's just I don't have the organization. Do you think in the grand? Oh, did I finish that question? Yeah. Okay. Do you think in the grand scheme of arena players, you're the most creative of them all? So I'm gonna answer this in an honest way. I think I would definitely be one of the most creative, but it's important to understand the context. I'm probably one of the most creative players because I have the time to do so, and it is my job to do so. That's not to say that people couldn't be creative or more creative than me. It's just there's no incentive. Just give me a second. I gotta close the door. Some people are right outside my door distracting me. They're literally right the fuck outside just talking, bro. Like, come on. If you had a superpower, why can't I read that? Okay, if you had a superpower, what would it be? And what is your favorite superpower? Um, I would just choose immunity to death, like and like motility. Actually, I thought about this a lot. I would want the ability to never be able to die ever, and be indestructible, and also move without needing anything to whatever to like do so. Because even if you're like unkillable, someone can bury you, and that would be like really boring. Like fuck. So I'd want to be able to like quickly like fly basically, right? Invincible does motility really well, as in okay, mobility versus motility. Motility is like you can move by yourself basically. You know what I mean? That's the best of my understanding. There's a difference between the two. It's because I had a thing with esophageal motility or whatever, where it was like I didn't have as much, and so I had like a hard time swallowing or something. But yeah, I learned that word. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. The difference between mobility and motility. Whatever. I can fucking fly, and I'm indestructible, superhuman. But my favorite superpower would probably be like time travel or something like that, or telekinesis. Very cool. You reading any current mangas or light novels or watching any? I used to read a lot of shit like Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, Solo Leveling. I loved before the anime came out, and I love the anime a ton. Holy shit, so fun. Who cares for slop, bro? You guys don't create shit to begin with. What the fuck are you guys judging off of, right? Not that you have to. I know it's a food critic problem. Like, yes, you could be a critic without having the skills to do the thing, but like, dude, as someone who creates things, I very much empathize with people who get shit on for their creations. Like, dude, fuck. Like, yes, there are a lot of valid criticisms, but I gotta run to bat for like animes and mangas and stuff. Like, some of you guys, not some, all of you guys live in a world where you have infinite consumption avenues. Like, you can read anything, pretty much watch anything. and you have the audacity to complain. Like so, it's like you can do so. Just don't like be annoying about it. Really, don't like go to the person and say it. Um, I'm watching a ton of romance enemies. Like the I want to end this love game. Oh, that one's so cute. The fell in love with like the second prettiest girl in class. Dub, by the way, kissed. Oh my god, you can't have an anime like that where they don't at least kiss by like episode 11 or 12, dude. Like just like, oh, it's so cute, dude. Fucking, I'm a big romance kind of guy. A romantic, yeah. And then like the angel spoils me rotten, but that one's getting a little bit stale to me, only because I wish they would be a little bit less nervous with each other, and I wish male characters were written less like dense or like shy. Like just be a little bit more of a Riz Lord. You don't have to be like Usui from like the Kaicho Maid Sama, but just you're in a relationship now, right? Cozy up to each other a little bit. And so I had a little bit of an issue with the pacing, but overall, like that's such a tiny fucking complaint that means nothing. Like my opinion means nothing. I just kiss more. Like it's so cute. Get butterflies and shit. Yay. So next one. What made you change your keybinds to those illegal buttons you use? First of all, fuck your phrasing. Have some respect. The other guy said the same thing of like a notice your number key, blah blah blah. WSD cam is optimal. I'm not even gonna bother explaining. Everything else I'll explain. This one, it's just strictly optimal. That's it. What's your favorite food? And what kind of music do you listen to the most? Korean steak tartar. Yuke. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yuke. It's like it's whatever. Korean steak tartar. It's delicious. It's way better than like white people steak tartar, because white people steak tartar is like it's salty. It's on crostinis. It's good, but the Korean one is like a lot more soft, a lot tenderer, and it's slightly sweet, but don't let that put you off. Like it's delicious. Go have that. And what kind of music do you listen to? I answer that above. And what field is your job? Data science, because you seem to enjoy statistics and data. So I like to describe myself as kind of like presenting as left-brained, right? If we're gonna make the dichotomy, even as stupid as it is to do so, because of the utility. I guess the utility here is pretty good because we can get quick things to anchor onto. I'm like more STEM-brained presenting, as in like data, statistics, like you said, logic, right? That kind of stuff. But I'm a very, very feely, sensitive guy. Like I like to think about like, oh, the perception of this thing. How does it make people feel when they see this thing? What's the oomph behind it, right? I'm more of an arts kid, a theater kid. Not literally theater. I used to do drama when I was in middle school and high school, kind of, right? I would do skits and stuff, and like I like media. But it's the fact that I have both of those. I lived both of those kind of ideals, right? Of like, or I live the ideal, what I view to be like the ideal version of those brains, I guess. Of like, try to be as proper as possible with your processes as a left brain, and try to be as fun and creative. Whatever, it's bullshit. Those two work really well together when you have both of them. Okay, if I had to separate it again into a dichotomy, and that's another one of my advantages. So to answer your actual question, what is what field is my job? Game analysis. I'm a QA engineer. Okay, quality assurance engineer. I just do game analysis, pretty much. Yeah, and I bring my skills that might not seem necessary for people hear the word engineer and they think STEM. It's not really, not in this case. And so if anything, like opinions and the communication skills and the ability to articulate myself matter more. And oftentimes that'll be like a combination of like rhetoric from the left side and like more expression from the right. This is all bullshit. I'm giving you bullshit answers. Like bullshit being defined as like I don't fully know the science. I'm just speaking from my experience. Okay, so don't check me on that. Fucking don't. Okay, always get such nitpickers. They always do like they do the you got this wrong. You know what I mean, all right? I'm curious on your answer to the whole red button versus blue button thing. You always hit the blue button. Yeah. If you follow the original question, you always hit the blue button. If all 100% of people hit the red button, yes, everyone survives. But you are a psychopath. From my perspective, you're probably a psychopath, or you're just ignorant, or yeah. that was a very clear delineation of like who is proper in this world, who adheres to social contracts, and who doesn't, or rather, who is forced to and cannot always display their psychopathic tendencies. I will go so far as to make sweeping general statements to say like, yes, if you think that red is correct, I think you are more likely to be a psychopath, just by default. Because if you think for 3 seconds, you would realize there are a lot of people who might not understand this question fully and might accidentally hit blue because they might, again, and that's only one cohort of people you would probably want to save. And for the people that say, oh, screw them, they're dumb anyway, well, what you don't understand is when you hit the red button and if you win, you live in a world full of red button hitters. You're gonna collapse in like 3 seconds, all right? And also, you are the one that is voting for more likely to kill people, all right? By virtue of blue being kill no one, essentially. Okay? Fucking, I know there's a lot of different ways that people frame this sort of thing, but to me, it's actually a very, very useful benchmark for if someone is someone I want to talk to. And what's sad is we live amongst a lot of red voters. You know, I get it. It's I totally understand them. And shit, if I'm presented with a situation, I might even hit the red. Right? There might be situations where I might, oh my God, I'll waver. But I'd like to think that I would be the person who would hit blue. I'd like to think that because I think it is strictly more moral. Okay? Yeah, that's a heavy one. A lot of opinions. A lot of wrong opinions. Are you interested in language studies, for instance, about how it affects the way people interact with each other, especially with more aggressive parasocial form that it, yeah. Nuance is really lost. So for example, in my answer to that question just now, there are a lot of nuances that I won't be able to get to in the interest of time, and people will nitpick at that. And like, yeah, 100% I'm interested in language studies. I'm interested in how to like eliminate some of the issues. 50% of like communication is in body language, and missing that is like huge. Can you see yourself ever returning to solo queue content in any significant way, or do you see that as something that's firmly in the past? I would lean more towards in the past. Yeah. Solo queue is like, this game isn't like very old, you know? League is very old. So the people that are left over in my elos are typically the ones that are just like super, super unemployed and like super fucking wigged out, man. Like it's they're gone. Like I don't want to interact with them. How much do you value the response to the video compared to your enjoyment of that content? Obviously, you put in a lot of effort to make content most of us can enjoy, but there are videos or some videos that you upload where you're passionate about the build or character, so you upload it anyways. I'm curious if there is a way you make that decision, or if you just go off vibes. So a little bit of both. There's a pipeline, like I mentioned before, and there's also just like a vibe check. My job is to package anything in a way that you would enjoy or you'd want to click on. So regardless of what the build is, I would like to think I'm good enough at my job, at this guesswork, that I can achieve a standard. And if I can't, if I think that I cannot make this build appealing enough to click on, then I won't. And I don't have a really good way to describe how I do that, other than like small checks like, is this a female champion that people don't normally like? Because I have a 97% male audience. Is this a champion whose mechanics are a little bit more convoluted, visually, invisible power is another one, right? Like, if you have a champion that just shoots big blasts, big lasers, it's probably a little bit better than someone who doesn't, right? Who maybe has like nondescript spells and stuff, So there's like a bunch of small details. It's all guesswork at the end of the day. When and why did you decide to start using facecam in your videos? Was it to appease the algorithm or something else? In a way, it's to appease the algorithm. It's psychology. It's very simple psychology. When someone sees someone smiling or laughing, you can hear someone laughing, but if you don't see them, you might not always get the full effect of it. Which is, if I walk up to you on the street and I start smiling, first of all, that might be creepy. It depends on context. But like, let's say in the middle of the day, I'm like clearly laughing about something. I'm like, haha, right? Maybe at my phone, and I walk up to you. You would probably instinctively start smiling and be like, yo, what are you laughing at? Like, you don't even know what I'm laughing about yet, but you see me, you reflect that sort of thing. And it's like, oh, he's having fun, I'm having fun. If I'm always sad, I'm always angry, I'm always like not smiling, or you don't even see me doing that, there's a good chance that you might not enjoy it. If I'm just angry the whole time, pissed the whole time. Because a lot of you guys are like kind of bad boyfriends. I'd call you like the bad boyfriend type, as in you're the kind of person who would tell like a girlfriend to fix their face, to like watch their tone. You guys are like that. Very invalidating, very quick to make judgments about anything. I look tired, you're gonna say some shit like, oh, yikes, someone needs to catch up on sleep. You guys are such pieces of shit when it comes to that. So I use it to my advantage, as in, like, if I can even sometimes feign engagement or excitement about something, psychology, you guys will naturally think, oh, I like this person more because they're laughing, they're having more fun. It's such a shitty part of this world that, like, it's almost necessary though, right? That like a lot of you people are not only reflective of the other person's emotions, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a bad thing when comboed with very quick to judge and make assessments when things deviate from what you expect to be the norm. Which is to say, you guys think that content creators always have to be happy, always have to be entertaining, and if we deviate from that ever, you're quick to judge and you're quick to tell us. Okay, so empathy, right? We're describing empathy like, oh, you see someone sad, oh, you feel sad. You see them mad, you're like, oh, what the fuck? You're defensive, right? You see someone laughing, being happy, oh, yo, hey, that's a bright mood. That's good. You know, you absorb that. That can be a good thing, not necessarily. So again, in these contexts, I think that sort of, like, you know, effect where you'll reflect the behavior of, like, the person you're watching or maybe talking to, it can be a negative thing because you guys have unreasonable standards for people like me. Okay, that's the important part at the end there, because you have unreasonable standards for people like me, content creators. Now, for other people in real life, let's say your mom, your dad, whomever, if they had a bad day, you probably wouldn't be invalidating. I'd hope, because you get smacked. You get smacked immediately. Like, yo, like, what do you mean tell me to calm down or relax when I'm mad? You just wouldn't do that. If you're a smart person, you don't do that. You just don't do that ever. Okay? You do that if you want to piss them off. Okay, there's your fucking, you know, that's how I'm gonna take that question, because I think that's a good lesson for all of you guys. Okay? Don't be that kind of person. But also, I use it to my advantage. So yeah, that's why, if you're like a dude, there's so many, like, platinum, diamond, master tier, challenger even content creators that stream without mic or face cam. It's like, you are missing so much. They, like, you don't have a good personality to begin with, but you can put yourself ahead of everyone who doesn't by just turning on your cam, no matter how fucking butt ugly you might think you are or you actually are. I think I'm a very average looking person. I don't think my face is offensive to anyone, like, hopefully. Right? And it's just a smile. Maybe I laugh weird, maybe I smile weird, I got a snaggle tooth, who cares, right? Who's that parasocial? Some are, they can fuck off. It's like, as a creator, you need to have that branding. You fucking need to. Thankfully, VTubers can kind of sidestep that. But, like, if you have no cam, like, it better be a gimmick. Because I know you're thinking the counter argument is, oh, hi, I'm Gosu. Well, he was in a non-saturated environment and he had that gimmick. And it was low-key misogynistic. People thought he was a chick, and they wanted to, like, get angry because he's a chick or something, right? Like, and they're like, oh, you know. And they lean into that. Dude, it was just that's such a fucking huge exception. Okay, so don't even bring that up. Don't even. All right, don't do that. That's dumb. That's dumb. It's bad thinking. Okay. The general idea is you attach a name and face, a voice as well. It is very unfortunate for those in marginalized identities when they might get judged off of their name, their face, their voices. I feel bad for them. I empathize with them somewhat. I don't know what it's like to be them, and I'm very grateful that I don't get attacked over these sorts of things, and I'm sorry to them. So I have to say that. I think it's important. I fully acknowledge them. But yes, you should generally, if you're going to be a creator, use all these tricks. Okay, what's your favorite part of the day? I like eating when I get to eat, because I don't have to work when I have to eat. And then finally, how old are you? I am 27. I will see you guys on the next one if I choose to do so. Thanks for watching.